$18 months ago, you come into office. TSA is facing a very negative, leaked DHS IG Inspector General report on screening failures. There's low morale in the agency, and it's a very difficult budgetary environment. Other than that, great time to come in. What were your kind of initial thoughts in accepting this assignment, and kind of what were you thinking you wanted to try and get accomplished?
Well, someone told me I should have checked my caller ID before I pick up the phone on this one. But actually, my first thought was, this was an agency in crisis, not just internally, but externally as well. You had a big public loss of confidence in the ability of the agency to do its job. And then people internally were just kind of hunkered down, waiting for the next incoming round to come in. So it looked like it was an interesting challenge. The fascinating thing about going into an agency at the level I did, having never worked there before, is in some ways it liberates you from being tied to any particular way of doing things. So the first thing we had to do was figure out what went wrong and get people kind of out of that hunkered down mentality and just working on a problem. So the first thing is to give them something to work on. So we started working on the root causes of the problems. And then that spurred all sorts of discoveries about things that we could do, whether with respect to training, with respect to building a culture, with respect to reconnecting ourselves to the industry that we were part of.
So a lot of people, myself included, you've heard me say this before, underestimated you and said, God, what can somebody really get accomplished in 18 months in such a big bureaucratic organization? Now you look back, you were able to put a lot of transformational change into the agency. How do you do that?
Well, I think the first thing is when you've got a crisis, that's real opportunity. And putting aside the cliche about don't let crises go to waste, what you really have is a tremendous amount of information that's been provided to you, things that haven't gone well. And if you listen to that and really dig deep into it, it gives you an opportunity to make massive change. Plus you have an organization that's receptive to it. They don't want to be there. I can tell you, when you sit around that table for the first time and you look out at that sea of faces that are just in panic because they don't know what to do about it, then you can take advantage of that opportunity and move forward. So that's the first thing. The second is to try to discover what are the biggest levers you can pull that make the most difference in the short amount of time. Because you have to, one, you have to get yourself out of crisis, but you got to have a couple quick wins. Otherwise, you're just churning the organization. So we thought a couple easy quick wins were, let's retrain that frontline workforce, find out what happened, and then go back and make sure that we try to train that out. And the second thing was to look for how can you begin to transform the way we think about our interactions with the industry.